As the trade deadline looms, the Marlins just continue playing good baseball. They go up to Milwaukee and they take 2 out of 3 from one of the National League's best teams in the Milwaukee Brewers.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for the last 4 seasons. I've been a diehard Marlins fan since I was 12 years old. You can hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every single day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And on today's show, I'm going to recap the Marlins and the Brewers series, talk about a couple of special pitching performances that we saw this past weekend in the minor leagues, and give you bold trade deadline predictions. The trade deadline is this Thursday. There's a lot of unanswered questions for the Marlins, and I'm going to just, spitfire some predictions here. So let's talk about the Marlins and the Brewers. The Marlins take 2 out of 3. They win the first 2. You would have loved to see a sweep. They can't win the game on Sunday, but they're still playing good baseball. Friday's game, they win by a score of 5-1. Kyle Stowers hit another homer. Otto Lopez had 3 hits with all 3 being doubles, including the go-ahead 2-run double that plated 3 runs because there was an error in the outfield in the 7th. That broke a 1-1 tie. And Cal Quantrill was really efficient. He went 5 innings, 1 run. It came on a home run. Didn't walk anyone for the second consecutive start. And he struck out 4. And my takeaway from this game was Cal Quantrill still has trade value. And they're going to move him. It's just a matter of how much can Bendix get back? Because if you really look at Quantrill over the last couple of months, even the last 3 months, he's been quietly just doing his thing. He's a 5-inning guy. He's going to go 5 innings. He's going to be efficient for the most part. Nothing flashy. He's not going to strike out 11 or 12 like a couple of minor leaguers we saw do that. More on that later. But Quantrill does his job, and he's a rental. The Marlins have no incentive to keep him the rest of the season. They're not going to give him a contract extension all of a sudden and keep him in Miami long term. So as we're sitting here on Monday and the trade deadline is on Thursday, Quantrill has one more scheduled start against St. Louis. That could be his last start in a Marlins uniform. And I would argue expect it to be his last start in a Marlins uniform. The last 7 starts for Cal Quantrill, he has an ERA of 4.05 across 33 1/3 innings, 28 strikeouts, and a whip of 1.02. Back-to-back starts with no walks. He followed up last weekend's start against the Royals, in which he went 6 shutout. With this one, 5 innings, just 1 run. I like what I'm seeing out of Cal Quantrill at the time that he's doing it at right now. The time he's doing it, it can't get much better for the Marlins. Otto Lopez, I mean, he had those 3 doubles. I really like Otto Lopez as being the shortstop of the Marlins' foreseeable future. And Kyle Stowers, what more can I say about him? I mean, sometimes I'm just at a loss for words anytime he does something special at the plate, because we just see it every day now. He's turning into a legitimate star in front of our eyes, and he's going to be a building block and a cornerstone player for the Marlins for years. Moving on to Saturday's game, this was a little bit more high scoring. The Marlins won 7-4. 3 Marlins players hit homers in this one. Agustin Ramirez, the Gus Bus, get on board before it leaves the station. Heriberto Hernandez homered. What a find Heriberto Hernandez has been over the last, month and a half, 2 months. He's been great. And then Dane Myers breaking out of his slump. He homered. Marlins hit 3 homers in this series. Jansen Junk went 5 innings, 3 runs, and then turned the ball over to Tyler Phillips, who goes 4 innings of 1-run baseball, didn't walk anybody, struck out 4, and got the save. A classic 4-inning save from Tyler Phillips. You love to see that. And you love to see a start in which the Marlins pitchers, Jansen Junk and Tyler Phillips, they didn't allow a walk. So the Brewers had no free passes in this one. It was a power surge for the Marlins. They put up 11 hits with 3 bombs. Heriberto Hernandez going to Sunday. He homered again on Sunday. Both his homers were go-ahead blasts. Unfortunately, in this one, the Marlins gave up the lead. Ronnie Enriquez gives up the lead late in the game. And then Cade Gibson pitches the bottom of the 9th, and they get walked off. The Brewers salvage a game in that matinee on Sunday. But if you're the Marlins, you're still feeling good about the way you're playing. What I really liked in this series is the power. Stowers homered on Friday. You had 3 players homer on Saturday. Heriberto homered on Sunday. All in all, this team hit 5 homers across a 3-game series. I'll take that. I will take the power. That's the one thing I think that this offense, they need to continue tapping into, is the power. And that's why it's an unfinished product of where the Marlins lineup wants to be. Eric Wagaman, who is brought in as a big, hulking first baseman, third baseman type. He's getting the majority of the reps over at first now. He's not hitting for power. You got to hit for power at those corner spots. Third base, Connor Norby just wasn't hitting for pop. And then he's on the injured list, so Javier Sanoja, who replaces him, he's not going to hit for a lot of homers. Xavier Edwards doesn't hit for power. The Marlins are still trying to evolve and develop into a lineup that's going to slug more. Right now, they're 26th in home runs across Major League Baseball. They have 97 homers on the year. That's sandwiched between the Brewers, who they just played, and the White Sox. Teams ahead of them include the Giants, the Nationals, the Rockies. There's still work to be done for this Marlins team in the power department. But I loved what I saw over this past weekend. Was this series win enough to consider buying at the trade deadline? I don't think so. I think right now you're at 50 and 54. You dropped the final game of that series, and every game really matters. When you look at those wins and losses, if you swept, maybe you have a slightly different conversation, but I don't think they're in a position to buy. They're still playing good baseball. They're winning a ton of series, but they're not there yet. They're not buyers yet, and they're going to approach the deadline as if they're selling. And I think they should soft sell. And what I mean by that is trade the obvious pieces like a Jesus Sanchez, because you have Jacob Marcy, who just hit a 460-foot home run on Sunday for AAA Jacksonville. He's waiting in the wings. You trade Sanchez, you call up Marcy. Anthony Bender is a bullpen piece. Bullpen arms are expendable. You have guys you can call up from AAA. You have Josh Eknes, Josh White. There's multiple names there. The question is, Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara. Do you move one of them? Do you move both of them? Do you move any of them if the price isn't what you're looking for? So at 50 and 54, yes, you're playing good baseball, but you're not going to go all in, push all your chips on the table and be buyers at the deadline. That's not the wise thing to do at this time in the Marlins organizational development and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish long term. And what they're trying to accomplish long term, it involves two pitchers. Robby Snelling and Thomas White were spectacular this past weekend. I'm going to talk about their start and how excited I am for them to be part of the Marlins' future. That's coming up right after this. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I know sometimes those specific categories that you like spending money on, they add up. Whether that's takeout, your Uber eating, DoorDash, subscription services, I know those add up because you got Netflix. In baseball season, you got MLB TV, maybe YouTube TV, and you don't really see the money that's leaving your account. But with Monarch Money, you're just going to be able to budget smarter and inevitably save more. So if you're interested in this and you're trying to get serious about your finances, you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. I appreciate all the everyday listeners, making Locked On Marlins a part of your daily routine, Monday through Friday, and this is an exciting time to tune into the show. Trade deadline season is here. It's in full effect. We are in the middle of trade deadline week, about to really ramp up. It's Monday. The trade deadline's Thursday. You're going to see a lot of action over these next few days. But a couple players who the Marlins won't be trading is Robby Snelling and Thomas White. So on Saturday, I had the Marlins game on the TV, and I watched the Jacksonville game on my laptop. It was a Robby Snelling start against the Durham Bulls. That's the Tampa Bay Rays affiliate. And Robby Snelling probably just pitched the best game of his career. He went 6 2/3, gave up 2 home runs. That was 2 solo homers. That was the only damage against him. He struck out 11, 4 hits, didn't walk anybody. Robby Snelling, that's a career high in the strikeout department. He now has just, 3 AAA starts this season under his belt, and he's striking out AAA hitters in the double digits. I mean, what is not to like about Snelling? He was acquired last year in a deadline deal and from the San Diego Padres. The turnaround for Robby Snelling starts with the increase in velocity. Last year, he was acquired at the deadline. It was an intriguing piece. He was a good pitcher the year before in 2023. He regressed in 2024. He wasn't throwing as hard. On average, his velocity was more sitting in the low 90s. But when I'm watching this start against the Durham Bulls for Jacksonville, he's routinely sitting 94, 95, and ramping it up to 97, 98. And that velocity was carrying deep into the game. Snelling's a dog. He's a former 4-star linebacker. He's a big dude on the mound, and he's coming full throttle at you. He's got a power curveball that, when located well, it's really, really nasty. And I see a scenario, depending how this deadline goes, in which Snelling pitches for the Marlins this season. And I'm absolutely here for it. I think he has the potential to be a solid frontline starter. You pair him with Yuri Perez, Edward Cabrera, if he stays, then Thomas White is right behind Snelling. The future for this Marlins pitching staff, even if they trade Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara, is bright. Snelling's going to be here, and I think there's going to be a time when Robby Snelling, Yuri Perez, and Thomas White are a 1-2-3 matchup in the postseason. That's exciting. It's not hard to dream about that. Moving on to Thomas White. I think Thomas White's the best left-handed pitching prospect in all of baseball. Full stop. He just got called up to Double-A recently. He just made, let's see how many starts. I believe he's made 5 Double-A starts. 5 Double-A starts, a 2.25 ERA across 20 innings. But this one was his best start ever. 5 innings, 2 hits, 0 walks, 14 strikeouts. 14. In case you don't grasp the significance of this, every single out, apart from one, was a strikeout. He thoroughly dominated the Knoxville Smokies in Double-A at 20 years old. Thomas White is going to be an ace. He's going to compete for Cy Youngs one day. I can see that in his future. I mean, the stuff is just so good. I think he's the best pitching prospect since Yuri Perez. And the idea of Yuri Perez as a 1, Robby Snelling as a 3, Thomas White as the number 2, that's a 3-headed monster. And it's led by 2 guys that throw 100 miles an hour. It's just pure gas coming at you from the top. 14 strikeouts in 5 innings is something you see when you're playing MLB The Show against your little brother and it's on legend mode or Hall of Fame mode. That doesn't happen. And Thomas White makes it look easy. That glimpse you saw of him on Saturday, by the way, they both pitched on Saturday. These games were happening simultaneously. That is the type of pitcher that you can dream on being an ace. Not just a solid major leaguer. No, I'm talking about somebody that competes for Cy Youngs because I see it in Yuri Perez. I think if everything goes well in Yuri's career, he's getting Cy Young votes. And maybe he wins one. Maybe he wins multiple. And this is bold. Thomas White hasn't pitched in AAA yet. But just based on the stuff that I'm seeing, I think he's going to do the same thing. I think the Marlins have 2 of the best young pitchers in baseball. Yuri's just 22 years old, remember. He still has room to grow as a pitcher. His fastball's probably the best fastball in baseball. And once he establishes his secondaries more consistently and locates them well, has a better feel for them in pressure situations and at any time in the count, then Yuri's going to be unstoppable. Like, how do you hit this guy? And that's how I feel about Thomas White. When everything is clicking, Thomas White, that's what you see. A 14 strikeout performance across 5 innings. So, no matter what happens at this deadline, the Marlins are in a good spot with their pitching staff. Snelling will be up. I expect Thomas White to be up in 2026. I've said this for a few months now. I know there's some people that want him to pitch in September, to have a cameo then. I'm not necessarily there yet because I just don't want to rush him. I mean, the jump from Double-A to the major leagues is huge. So I would not be opposed to just giving him the rest of the season in the minor leagues. Maybe he gets a shot in AAA, has a full offseason, goes into spring training ready to compete for a roster spot and a spot in the opening day rotation. But if you're a Marlins fan and you know the farm system to a degree, then Thomas White and Robby Snelling are at the top of your list among pitching prospects for the Fish. It's incredible. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the trade deadline. Give you some bold predictions on my end. Will they happen? Maybe not, but they could. And it's a possibility. That's coming up right after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and so this is the hat that I'm wearing. For Marlins fans like me, this one hits the mark. Gameday Hue makes clean, no-logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every professional and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile styles that work on game day, on the golf course, or anywhere in between. The gear is subtle, stylish, and you can still rep your team. The hat pairs perfectly with your usual Marlins gear. It's not going to replace the Marlins logo, but it just adds to it. It adds that subtle flavor. And they got more than just hats. They got golf gloves as well. Split shade golf gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. I'm not a golfer, but there is a Topgolf near my house, and the next time I go, I definitely got to wear these along with the hat. So right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code locked on, code MLB15. Locked On Marlins is on all the major podcast platforms out there, so you can listen to it on the go. But if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Now it's time for bold trade deadline predictions. So I'm going to start with the pitching staff. The Marlins right now, I talked about Cal Quantrill and how I think he's pitching well enough to get traded and get something back for him. He's a rental. It makes sense to move him. But I think my biggest bold trade deadline prediction is that we're going to see Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara both get traded, along with Cal Quantrill, which means 3 of the Marlins' current 5 starters will be on other teams. The reason I think this is a possibility, and for most teams, this isn't really conceivable, because you still have to go out and pitch the games. You still have to play baseball. Is that I think the Marlins have enough in their system internally to fill those roster spots. Tyler Phillips has started games before. Valente Belloso was in the rotation. You have Yuri Perez and Jansen Junk. They're solidly entrenched in the rotation right now. And then you look in the minor leagues, at a major you could call up. As I talked about before, Robby Snelling is a potential call-up. And that's not even including if the Marlins get somebody back in a potential Cabrera or Sandy trade. I think it's very, very interesting just to wait and see what Peter Bendix does this deadline. I believe one of them is going to get moved. But my bold prediction is that both of them do. Sandy Alcantara, I would rather get traded than Edward Cabrera. But I think there's going to be a team that deals for Sandy, and then Cabrera is the one where the Marlins hold their ground, say, we want the sun, the moon, and the stars. If you don't trade for him, if you don't pay up, you're not getting him. And the Marlins get a haul that they can't refuse. And that would include a major league ready player or 2. Like something where I'm coming onto the podcast and I'm saying, wow, Peter Bendix just pulled off a heist, highway robbery, getting this trade. Because I think that's the level of talent that the Marlins should expect to get back. Will this happen? I don't know. I don't know if it's likely to happen, but I think there's a scenario in which it does, because I don't think you should stop. I don't think you should say, okay, trading 3 starters is a reason to lose Cabrera. I think the reason you trade Edward Cabrera is because the offer is too good to pass up. The reason you trade for Sandy, of course, is a lot more complex because you have a ton of money invested in Sandy Alcantara. And we know ownership, and we know that they wouldn't mind moving off of that finances that's tied to one individual player. It's Monday right now. The trade deadline is Thursday. The probable pitchers for the Marlins: Edward Cabrera pitches tonight. Sandy pitches on Tuesday, and then Cal Quantrill pitches Wednesday, and that's it. Those three could all be gone potentially after their start. Cabrera in St. Louis, this is the final opportunity for him to showcase what he has to other scouts, to other teams. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of scouts in attendance. I don't think Sandy's start matters as much. Well, no, I take that back. Sandy's start does matter because you want to see him put together two consistent starts back to back. But in terms of the numbers, if Edward Cabrera has a start in which he's 5 innings, 3 runs, it's not going to be the end of the world. And I don't think it's going to be the end of the world for Sandy Alcantara. Let me rephrase this. Both of these starts matter. There's more risk in having Cabrera pitch at all today than there is just sitting him down if you were going to trade him. And that is what the Marlins could do. He's arguably the best trade chip this deadline. Eugenio Suarez, of course, a hitter. He's great. He's a rental. Cabrera has 3 more years of control. Seth Lugo just got extended. Dylan Cease, a rental, inconsistent. Merrill Kelly, he's aging. He's a rental. Zach Gallen is a rental. I'm trying to think of other pitchers that have this level of control, of team control that Cabrera does. I can't really think of them. So he's a high sought commodity without a doubt. The Marlins need to play this smart and just see what happens. Don't sell low. That's all I have to say. Do not sell low on either of those players. Second bold prediction I have, Ronnie Enriquez gets moved. I said it before. I said I'm not looking to trade Enriquez. I think he can be the closer of the future. But he's had struggles, and it's not about his struggles. He still leads the National League in strikeouts for relief pitchers. But there's been some good points that the Marlins are very good, and Peter Bendix is very good at finding relievers, and they have relievers ready in the minor leagues that they can just replace. Enriquez has been a great find, but you could potentially get a real nice return for him, maybe packaged with Sandy or Cabrera, because Enriquez has a ton of control left as well. I mean, we saw the Marlins do this earlier, just calling up Josh Simpson, and Simpson slides into the relief ranks, and he pitches well. They have relievers. It's a reliever factory that Peter Bendix has built. Guys like Lake Bacher, Enriquez was a waiver claim. Anthony Bender for sure is going to be moved at this deadline, but my other bold prediction is that Ronnie Enriquez gets moved and gets a better return than Anthony Bender does. Wouldn't mind holding on to him. I think he can be the Marlins closer in 2026, but I don't think they're going to let a bullpen piece dictate, their plans for a potential prospect return. He's not untouchable, is what I'm saying. 50-54. This team is playing good baseball. There's no doubt about it. But I still think, and this is just my gut saying this, they're going to do something unexpected at the deadline. I think they're going to sell a little more than you think. I could be completely wrong, but this is the bold deadline prediction segment. we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. It's just a few days away. Deadline day is always fun. The stove is hot. Let's see what Peter Bendix cooks. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you all for listening. And until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.